Alright guys, so I figured I'd put together a video with more of a description on how I built those Nuc boxes that I shared in the earlier video. So here we go. This is some of the stuff that you'll need in order to build the boxes. I used a circular saw as well as a chop saw, but you could use a circular saw for everything needed. Obviously you'll need a speed square, some sort of straight edge to make your lines, tape measure, something to mark your lines with, a drill for your entrance, and we have 18 gauge inch and 3/16 brad nails. You can also use wood glue if you would like. I've used it in the past. Sometimes I use it, sometimes I don't. With these particular boxes, I'm not using it, but it's completely preference. And obviously then you're going to need an air gun slash brad nailer and some sort of air supply. So what I do is I go through and I mark my sheet of plywood out completely with all the dimensions needed. If you do that, you need to make sure that you compensate for the saw blade width. If you're not real good with a saw, I suggest you cut the pieces one at a time and not lay everything completely out on the sheet of plywood. The only reason I like to do it is because I can ensure I get the best usage for that sheet of plywood. So I have everything cut out. This is enough material to make 2 more Nuc boxes on top of the 2 that I already built. So we have 4 total out of a 4x8, and we still have some remaining material. So I'll start off with the front and back dimensions. For your front and back, it's going to be 6.5 inches wide and 9 inches high. So I go ahead and I mark each piece with some sort of abbreviation so I know what that piece entails. So when I go back through to construct everything, it's easy to do. FB, no, it's not Facebook, front, back, but you can use whatever suits you best to help assist with putting it together. So then we have the sides, which measure 19 1/4 long and then 10 3/8 high. Your top piece is 21.5 long and 7.5 wide. Your bottom pieces will be 19 3/4 inch long and 7 5/8 inch wide. You have your handle part that sticks to the box. This is the one that goes on the box, and I have it marked as B for box. It is 7.5 inches long by 2 3/8 inches wide. And then the other piece for the handle, which will attach to the top, is 7.5 long by 2 inches wide. Now I remind you, a lot of these dimensions can be changed depending on what size frames you use, how many frames you want to be able to put in these boxes. I just wanted to share what I used to give you guys a baseline, something to work with. This accommodates 4 to 5 frames depending, deeps, and we'll go ahead and build one of these, and hopefully this will help you out. So make sure you pay attention to how I nail these together, because it is important how they match up. Alright, so we'll start with our bottom and a side. So your side will sit on top of the bottom, and you don't want to equalize the overlap. You want to have whatever extra material there is sticking out on one of the sides. It's for your landing board. I usually will flip it over like this and try to hold it this way. Like I said, this is all preference, what you get used to, what you like to do, and how you like to do it. Alright, so our guns are loaded. I'll tack it. then I'll make sure that we're good over here. And I like to nail them pretty good. You really can't put too many in it. Take your time. Make sure everything's square. Because if it's not, it'll be a pain in the butt down the road. So after you put one of the sides on, it's best to do the front and back because it's hard to squeeze those in if you were to put the other side on first. Also, a lot of the times I try to put the writing in facing in just because it's visibly more appealing after you have it constructed. Sometimes the paint will cover everything, but this goes on the top of the bottom, on the inside of the side as well. Now this is our back, obviously, because we don't have our overhang, so I do put nails up in from the bottom. Now the reason I say that is because if it was the front, I won't put nails up through the bottom because normally when I drill an entrance hole, it's down towards the bottom, and I wouldn't want to hit one of my nails with obviously your drill bit. So that's a little tip. So now here, where you're putting in your front piece, I would just nail it into the side. You could always pre-drill your entrance before you do this as well. That's another option, but this is just how I do it. And if you miss or a nail comes out, which it's gonna happen, it's not a big deal. You can pull it out or cut it off. Trust me, it will happen. All right, so now we'll put our other side on. And I'll start at the back because the back is the most rigid based on how we nail it. And if they don't match up 100%, like if you have a little bit of an overlap, it's not the end of the world. Obviously, some people are very meticulous, so with some care, you can make sure that there is no overhang. But I really don't mind. Sometimes it's actually good. It gives you a little ventilation. Like I said, it's very important how these overlap in order to make everything work together as it's supposed to. There. Like I said, don't be shy with the nails. All right, so now we gotta get that. I should have put that in there better at first. Alright, so that's the main body of your Nuc. As you can see, this is the shorter section that I described where your frames will sit on. That ensures that everything is recessed down in there nice, so your top goes on nice and snug. Alright, so then we'll move on to the scabs. that cover that. And the reason I like this setup the best is, like I said before, is that you don't need a router or a wobble bit. And I actually have both of those, and I still prefer this method. It's just a lot easier. Now these I like to nail on an angle, because if you don't, now of course it will go through into the other side, which isn't a huge deal. You can trim them, but it's just easier to nail them on an angle. And if you do that, be careful, because if you put the gun at too much of an angle, it'll just ricochet off, and yeah, well, you get what I'm saying. You could get hurt, so be careful. Always aim the gun away from you, unless you're obviously proficient with it, but still, it's always just a good practice to aim away. Alright. Make sure these are flush with your top. Make sure that they're not sticking up past your sides, because if they are, you won't be able to get a nice seal. And that's the whole point of why I like this, is because you get such a nice seal at the top. Alright, so as you can see here, it's starting to get a good visible understanding of how it works. Now we'll move on to the top. And these, are crucial that you build it on here. That way you're able to build a nice tight fit. Don't build the top off and say, okay, I'll put this here at the end and nail it on. The best way is to put it right on the box and nail it right in place. That way you're getting a nice snug fit. Because you're gonna have spots that are a little longer, a little shorter, especially when you're using a circular saw. It's just gonna happen. Yeah, I'm sure there's some guys that say, oh, not me. Well, good for you. I'm not that guy. And these will work just as good. Alright, so nail these down in. Get our other one. All right, and there you have it. Obviously, you'll still need to drill your hole in the front. There's your little landing board, like I mentioned. You want to leave that excess out in the front for a little landing. Drill a hole wherever you prefer, paint it, and that's it. You've got yourself a 5-frame Nuc. Simple and easy. So there you go. Thank you. Hope you guys enjoyed.